Members were formed a quorum and as also the appointed time according to order. We have 2 sessions scheduled for today. In between, we will have a 10-minute break, and the next session will start at 4:30. May I remind members that if you have direct or indirect pecuniary interest on any of the item on the agenda, please declare the nature of the interest involved before you speak on that matter. And may I draw members' attention to the voting arrangements on an item where you have a direct pecuniary interest under ROP 84. We are to continue to discuss FCR 2017-18. This item invites members to approve a commitment to inject $5.45 billion as equity from the Capital Investment Fund to the Hong Kong International Themes Park Limited to support an expansion and development plan at the Phase 1 site of the Hong Kong Cityland Resort. I declare interest. I am an INED of Bank of East Asia. To answer members' questions, we have the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Mr. Greg So, and his team. Towards the end of our last meeting, we were already dealing with motions in accordance with our FC Rule 37A. There are 37 left, and Mr. Kim Yim is waiting to speak. However, he is not here yet. Does any member wish to speak on this matter? A point of order. What kind of a point of order? Please speak on the microphone. I have introduced a number of motions under 37A. It's strange that you just pick a few out of the bundle. Can you please explain? Now, this is not really a point of order, Dr. Kwok. Mr. Michael Tian? Members of the public. Whether it be 5 minutes or 1 minute, it doesn't matter. It's like a bereavement. It's like a morning bell. Now, if we vote for the item, we will continue to be trampled on by such unequal treatment terms. And if we do not further proceed with our development, we will be stifled, and then the Disney will use these as an excuse, and whenever it wants it, will have to accept this take it or leave it approach will be very threatening. Now, I'd like to respond to such comments. It's not that we are against development. However, we cannot be treated like an ATM. Well, even if we have already spent something on it, we can cut a halt. There is no point for us to continue with this development, and timing is of paramount importance. It's very different when we had the Asia financial turmoil and also the financial doldrums. Back then, we had no say but to accept such unequal terms. However, we have bottomed out from our economic doldrums, and we have got the XLL and also the Hong Kong German coverage. We have coaches of mainland visitors to Hong Kong, and the number of visitors to the park is ever rising. Now, if we say to Disney that thanks but no thanks, we are going to leave it, we have to work so hard to get this exemption in royalty fees of $60 million. We can tell the other party, you take it or leave it. Well, if you don't want it, we can benefit other tourist attraction items. It is the biggest wisdom to know when to say no. When we did it wrong the first time, it was because we didn't have the trump card. But now, if we repeat our mistake, it's because we don't know what we have in hand. We have wrongly assessed the situation right from the beginning. Now, the country is working very hard to for revival, and yet we are now succumbing to unequal concessions. So is what I'm saying really unjustified? I am not really objecting for the sake of objecting. I'd like to summarize my feelings in one sentence. It's important that we have a government that is strong. However, we must not be just stronger internally. We should also be equally strong towards outsiders. Thank you. If members have no further questions, Mr. Lim Chak Ting, will members who want to speak please press the request to speak button. Mr. Lim Chak Ting. Chairman, I don't think we should shorten the speaking time to 1 minute, because there are a number of issues that the government have not given us sufficient justification. Mr. Grexel quoted from the representative from Disney that is either take it or leave it. Of course, the other side will secure the best interest for itself, and it would threaten to pull out. But even if that's the case, our theme park is still in operation, and Disney has to take care of its own goodwill and credibility. $5.4 billion is not a small amount. This morning, we had family members of chronically or rare diseases petitioning because the government is not willing to subsidize the procurement of drugs. $5.4 billion can help these people in the coming 10 years. You say that we have to support our tourism industry, and for the sake of our economy, we have to support this paper. As Mr. Michael Tan said, these are unequal treaty terms, and I agree with Mr. Tan entirely. We should not come to an agreement with Disney this time. We give you the ammunition to restart the negotiations, and this is the right attitude of a government. If you just accept it, take it or leave it over, then you are such a weak negotiator, because you just accept what the other party wants. Have you ever been in business? Well, in business, I think negotiation and this back and forth talks are inevitable. You should not act like a human recorder and ask us to take it or leave it. I fail to understand. Even if we just leave it, would it be really that bad for Hong Kong? Now, even if we leave it, Disneyland will have to restart the talks with the new government. Even Donald Trump would like to meet President Kim. So, is it that you know what the bottom line of Disney is? Everyone will claim that this is my bottom line and you must take it. Please don't be so naive, Secretary. We'll talk about $5.4 billion of money from our public coffers. On the one hand, you talked about investment and this item, and for people suffering from rare diseases, they want some money to save lives, and you are willing to do so. This is ridiculous. Mr. Andrew Wan, I speak to oppose the shortening of our speaking time. For people watching this debate live, they know very well. Well, even for members of the public that support the establishment, none have agreed that this is the right way to spend money. I've just met with ex-classmates from university days. Many of them are pro-establishment, but none of them have said privately or openly that it is right to spend $5.4 billion here. I think we have asked too many questions of this paper. Chairman, you may say that we're repeating our questions. This is because our questions have not been answered. This take it or leave it reply is really an answer to our questions. I think the Deputy Chairman, Mr. Michael Tan, is very correct to say that this is really insulting, and we will be betraying Hong Kong if we accept such terms. A government with autonomy we are a government with autonomy, and yet Disney dares to negotiate with us in this manner. Even though members here claim that they supported they are in fact against the whole package. They don't think that it is a good package, and this is ammunition for you to re-discuss with Disney. Given the scenario, we cannot support this paper. Myself and Mr. Michael Tian and a few other members have said that the worst case is we will follow what's happened in France. I don't know whether Disney will really fold up the park here. This attitude is totally unacceptable, given that many questions are not properly answered, and yet we have to ask so many questions because we can achieve some breakthrough at each meeting, and therefore we should not shorten the speaking time at this stage. If there are no other members who would like to speak, I'd like to put this item to the vote. Dr. Junius Ho, please press the request to speak button because I can't really see you here. I have to proceed to a vote because I don't know what members are up to. Now, if you would like to speak, please press the request to speak button. We do have this system. Thank you, Chairman. I did press the button. Regarding this shortening of shortening of the division bell from 5 to 1 minute. Yes, I think it is a painful decision because we have filibustered on too many items, including this one. We have spent a lot of time on it already at the panel level and at different meetings. The Secretary said that Disney's approach is take or leave it. I think we can understand it in this way. This is a painful decision, not easy to make, and that decision was made more than a decade ago. Now, we're not worried whether we can reach the destination. Rather, since we are on board the taxi, well, the driver is responsible for driving, and sometimes the passenger wants you to go via Nathan Road and sometimes Chatham Road, and we're going round and round in circles. The problem is we are changing our minds too often. Now, I respect Mr. Tian. We share similar views on many things. And yes, government money should be spent in a value for money manner, and we should play the role of a gatekeeper. Yes, $5.4 billion is not a small amount of money, but given that we've already done so much, and we should not give up halfway. Shanghai has already taken over. I discussed with an elder last week. Well, Hong Kong is still the best city. Although Shanghai has overtaken us at this moment, it doesn't matter. Hong Kong is going to be the best sooner or later. So I think we should not cut a total loss now. Dr. An Zhang, I speak to support Mr. Gary Chan's motion. Just now, a member said that the pro-establishment camp agreed with them entirely. From a businessman's point of view, yes, I would for sure not invest in this business. But theme parks are not easy to operate. It's just like the Kai-Tak amusement park and similar theme parks. They ceased business because of a lack of new facilities. There are facilities for members of the public. For instance, Ocean Park has incurred losses. Do we have to fold it up? And what about facilities run by LCSD, the swimming pools and the tennis courts? Then revenue only account for 10% of the operating costs. Do we have to close them down? And even RTHK is expensive to run and they can't accept advertisements. Do we have to fold up our THK? We're not going to do so because these facilities are needed by society. In the vacation break just now, I went to the community and saw some kids, and they told me that they liked Disneyland best. Fernando Zhang like to talk about rights of children. May I remind pro-democrats that we have to take care of our young children. They don't really have a lot of places to go. So we are just investing in the theme park for it to update its facilities. In future, before updating the facilities, I hope the administration can discuss with Disneyland to see whether we can have better terms. However, I don't want to see Disney gone for the sake of our kids, so I support this paper and I support Mr. Gary Chen's proposal to shorten the time to 1 minute. All right, 4 members have spoken. I'll put this item to the vote. In accordance with our OP 47 of our council, I'd like to shorten the division bell from 5 minutes to 1 minute. Division bell, please.
議員呢，請你準備下，一陣間係你第一位係有幾項嘅，請你準備下。
跟嗰個次序啊。
Mr. Leung Yiu-chong, what is the order, please? Secretary, can you read out the order for members? We issued a notice to members earlier. And regarding the order for a motion under 37, Mr. Nathan Law, Dr. Kwok K. James To, Andrew Wan, Wu Chi Wai, Jeremy Tam, Ray Chen, Lau Xiu Lai, Fernando Zhang, Claudia Mo, Leung Yiu-chong, Edward Yu. That's it.
大家呢，而家我哋進行呢個表。
I'd like to remind members that we are voting on whether we agree to shorten the division bell from 5 minutes to 1.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Voting's closed. The results are displayed. 31 for, 16 against, 0 abstention. The motion is carried. Next, on whether we would vote on whether we would deal with the motions under Rule 37A. Any division claims, from now the division bell would be rung for 1 minute. Mr. Nathan Law, please. According to Rule 37A of the FC procedure, and since the economic impact assessment carried out by the government are based on assumptions of 20 and 40 years of operation, and the situation in recent years has not been assessed.
現在呢係開始表決㗎。
Voting begins. Voting's closed. 15 for, 28 against, 0 abstention. We will not deal with this motion. Next, please. Mr. Nathan Law. According to Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that since the economic impact assessment of the government only covers the project itself, but under constant losses for Disneyland, the government should assess the operation of the entire theme park. The government should not just focus on the expansion program, but on the entire theme park in its assessments.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Voting's closed. The results are displayed. 14 for, 29 against. I announce that the motion is vetoed. Next, please. According to Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that since the government has to pay royalties and management fees to the Walt Disney Company every year, however, they did not explain the amounts being paid to the public. We request the government to announce the amount paid every year to ensure the fair use of public money.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Voting's closed. The results are shown. 17 for, 28 against, 0 abstention. I declare the motion vetoed. Mr. Nathan Law, final motion. According to Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that since this funding exercise is extremely contentious and the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development made it clear that there's no urgency in this item, we suggest the government to shelve this project and consider putting the public money into better uses to promote other local tourism projects.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Voting's closed. 18 for, 28 against, 0 abstention. I declare the motion vetoed. Dr. K.K. Kwok has proposed 7 motions. First, according to Rule 37A of the FC procedure, and since its opening in 2005, Hong Kong Disneyland only recorded surpluses in 3 of the years. That's why, and the government has yet to assess the economic impact and attendance for the expanded Disneyland, and the plan should be postponed until the operational efficiency is ascertained.
請佢進入第3項係咪？現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Voting's closed. The results are displayed. 18 for, 29 against, 0 abstention. I declare the motion vetoed. Your second motion is identical to Mr. Nathan Law's, so it's automatically vetoed. According to Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that since its opening in 2005, Hong Kong Disneyland only recorded surpluses in 3 of the years. That's why the Walt Disney Company must promise to permanently waive the variable management fees for Hong Kong Disneyland as well as 5 years of basic management fees, or else the expansion plan should be postponed. Voting begins. Voting's closed. The results are displayed. 18 for, 29 against, 0 abstention. I declare the motion vetoed. Next, Dr. K. Kwok. According to Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that before granting the fund, the government must request Hong Kong Disneyland to provide more detailed breakdown of the cost estimates for the expansion plan, or else the project should be postponed.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Voting's closed. The results are shown. 19 for, 30 against, 0 abstention. I declare the motion vetoed. Next, according to Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that the government must conduct a review on whether they still need to own the majority of the shares of the Hong Kong International Theme Parks Limited to maintain its status as majority shareholder before deciding whether or not to proceed with the expansion.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Voting's closed. The results are displayed. 24, 29 against, 0 abstention. I declare the motion vetoed. Next, according to Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that Hong Kong Disneyland must offer concessions for Hong Kong people and provide 20% and 30% discounts for the admission tickets and annual passes, respectively, to offer concessions, or else the expansion should be postponed.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Voting is closed. The results are shown. 18 for, 30 against, 0 abstention. I declare the motion vetoed. Dr. K. Kwok, according to Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that in order to carry out its corporate social responsibility, Hong Kong Disneyland, on top of its existing of its existing sponsorship of 100,000 disadvantaged groups to visit the park, they should enhance the support to more than 500,000 disadvantaged persons.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Voting's closed. The results are shown. 24, 30 against, 0 abstention. I declare the motion vetoed. Mr. James To, you have 3 motions. Mr. To, according to Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that the government must explain in detail the royalties, management fees, and other fees, and the corresponding formulas and actual percentages charged by the Walt Disney Company before dealing with the funding application under Head 973 Tourism on equity in Hong Kong International Theme Parks Limited for the expansion and development plan at Phase 1 site of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort. In other words, FCR 2017-18-1.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins.
現在停止表決。
Voting's closed. The results are shown. 24-29 against the abstention. And the committee will not deal with this motion. Next, according to Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that after Hong Kong Disneyland proceeds with the new project, they have to obtain exclusive rights to operate the new attractions before dealing with the funding application under Head 973 Tourism, Equity in Hong Kong International Theme Parks Limited for the expansion and development plan at Phase 1 site of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort. In other words, paper FCR brackets 2017-18-1.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Voting's closed. The results are shown. 24-28 against the abstention. The committee will not deal with this motion. Next, according to Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that after the Walt Disney Company agrees with waiving the variable management fee till 2023, we would then deal with the funding application under Head 973 Tourism on Equity in Hong Kong International Theme Parks Limited for the expansion and development plan at Phase 1 site of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort, which is paper FCR brackets 2017-18-1.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Voting is closed. The results are shown. 21 for, 29 against, 0 abstention. The committee will not deal with this motion. Next, Ms. Andrew Wong, 2 items. According to Rule 37A of the FC procedure, I move that after the Walt Disney Company confirms relaxing the development constraints near Hong Kong Disneyland, we would then deal with the funding application under Head 973 Tourism on Equity in Hong Kong International Theme Parks Limited for the expansion and development plan at Phase 1 site of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort.
Voting begins. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. Voting result 21 for, 29 against. I declare that the committee will not deal with the motion. Next motion. In accordance with Rule 37 of the FC procedures, I move that the government must submit to the committee all documentation relating to the land perimeter restrictions of the Disney World Company before dealing with the funding proposal in Head 973 Tourism New Subhead Equity in Hong Kong ITP Limited for the expansion and development plan at Phase 1 site of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. Voting result 21 for, 29 against. I declare that the committee has rejected dealing with this motion. Mr. Wuchi, why two motions? You may begin. In accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedures, I move that the government should make public all agreements signed with the Walt Disney Company, including but not limited to management agreement, license agreement, shareholders agreement, loan agreement, and master project agreement before dealing with Head 973 Tourism, new subhead, Equity in Hong Kong International Theme Parks Limited for the expansion and development plan at Phase 1 site of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort. FCR 2017-18-1 funding application. The voting begins. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 21 for, 29 against. I declare that the committee will not deal with this motion. Next, in accordance with Rule 37A of the IFC procedures, I move that the government and the Walt Disney Company must give an account on how the Hong Kong Disneyland can operate in a sustainable manner without the need for further application for funds for expansion or update of facilities before dealing with the funding application under Head 973 Tourism, new subhead, Equity in Hong Kong ITP Limited for the expansion and development plan at Phase 1 site of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort FCR 2017-18-1.
OK。
Voting begins. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 19 for, 29 against, no abstention. I declare that the committee will not deal with the motion. Mr. Jeremy Tam. Mr. Jeremy Tam, motion number 29 of yours. It's a repetition of number 14, which has been vetoed, so you can move on to motion number 30. This committee requests that the Walt Disney Company waiving of variable management fee be increased from 2 years to 5 years.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 24, 29 against. I declare that the committee will not deal with the motion. Next motion, please. This committee requests that the royalties rate be reduced by 50% to be charged by the Walt Disney Company until the expansion project is complete.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. Voting result 24-29 against. I declare that the committee will not deal with the motion. Next, please. This committee requests that the government further reduces the equity ratio of the Walt Disney Company.
啲劉小麗第一項就唔使講啦，即係進入第二項。佢同邊個重複啊？睇佢即係而家講翻出。
Voting begins. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 19-4, 30 against, no abstention. I declare that the committee refuses to deal with the motion. Mr. Ray Chan, 4 motions. You may begin. In accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedures, I move the following. As the administration is going to inject for $5.45 billion as equity to the Hong Kong International Theme Parks Limited to support an expansion and development plan at the Phase 1 site of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort, and yet the administration has failed to provide specific financial data to prove the level of the profit margin of enhancing Hong Kong Disneyland. The committee requests that the government must provide a financial projection in great detail for the projected income and profit of the Hong Kong Disneyland in the coming 20 years for the public to gauge the financial viability of the expansion project. Voting begins. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. Voting result 21-4, 31 against, no abstention. I declare that the committee will not deal with the motion. Next, in accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedures, I move the following. As the administration and the Hong Kong Disneyland is going to proceed with the expansion and development plan at the Phase 1 site of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort and will inject $5.45 billion to the Hong Kong International Theme Parks Limited, and $2.2 billion will be spent on performances, $1.6 billion of which will be spent on performances and the production of props. Many members of the public are worried that local enterprises will not be able to take part in the production work. This committee requires the administration to request that the Hong Kong International Theme Park Limited can only engage local enterprises to in the production work in the expansion project so as to maximize the economic benefit for Hong Kong. Voting begins. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. Voting result 18-4, 23 against, no abstention. I declare that the committee refuses to deal with the motion.
好啦，跟住到下一項唔該。
Next, please. In accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedures, I move the following. Since, according to the funding papers, at present, the Walt Disney Company can charge 14.5% of basic management fees and variable management fees after deducting tax, income, depreciation, etc. And many members of the public believe that in the process of the Phase 1 site of the development project, there will be financial pressure on Hong Kong Disneyland, such that the profit before tax, interest, etc. would reduce, and that Walt Disney Company would only waive the variable management fee for 2018-19, which is not sufficient for the Hong Kong Disneyland for the coming few years. The committee requests the administration to start negotiating with the Walt Disney Company to waive the basic and variable management fees between 2018 and 2023 so as to improve the financial position of the Hong Kong Disneyland during the expansion project. Voting begins. Voting is closed. Voting result 21 for, 31 against. I declare that the committee will not deal with the motion. Mr. A. Chan, in accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedures, I move the following. Since according to the funding papers, the expansion and development plan at Phase 1 site of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort involved $10.9 billion, of which $5.45 billion comes from the public coffers, and the public money should be used for other livelihood-related initiatives. The committee requests that the administration should require the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort expansion plan, Hong Kong Disneyland to sponsor the number of people in the underprivileged community from 100 to 300,000 people so that the underprivileged community can enjoy the expanded Disneyland. Voting begins. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. Voting result 24, 31 against, no abstention. I declare that the committee will not deal with the motion. Ms. Lau Siu Lai, there is one motion of yours, which is a repetition of Dr. Kwok Ka-Ki's motion. You can move on to the second one. Motion number 66. In accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedures, I move the following. As the Hong Kong International Theme Parks Limited has all along refused to disclose their company results between 2008 and 2008. This committee requests the administration to discuss with the Hong Kong Disney Company as soon as possible to make fully public the operational data so as to protect the public's right to know in accordance with the international convention. Voting begins. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. Voting result 19 for, 13 against, no abstention. I declare that the committee will not deal with the motion. We have 12 motions to go. Dr. Fernando Cheung, you can start. In accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedures, in relation to the injection of funds from the CIF to the Hong Kong ITP to support an expansion and development plan at the Phase 1 site of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort, I have the following motion. The government's commitment in this expansion plan will generate a 5% financial return in real terms, and if this is substantiated, there could be financing in the financial market, including the use of the issuance of bonds or loans without using public coffers. I suggest that the government conduct a study in along this line and to come up with a financing proposal in 3 months' time to the subcommittee, to the committee. Voting begins. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. Voting result 21 for, 31 against, no abstention. I declare that the committee will not deal with the motion. Dr. Fernando Cheung, next one. In accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedures, in relation to the injection of funds from the CIF to the Hong Kong ITP to support an expansion and development plan at the Phase 1 site of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort, I move the following. The government, as the shareholder with a 53% share of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort, should take the initiative to negotiate with the Disney company to stipulate the conditions, including using the attendances as a growth indicator to adjust the government's capital equity ratio. Voting begins. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. 21 for, 30 against, no abstention. I declare that the committee will not deal with the motion. Next, please. In accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedures in relation to the injection of funds from the CIF to the Hong Kong ITP to support an expansion and development plan at the Phase 1 site of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort, I move the following. In accordance with paragraph 5 of the FCR 2017-18-1, it is suggested that under the expansion plan, in 2021, the existing facilities will be updated, and in the expansion project, this committee requests that in updating the facilities, the barrier-free facilities should also be updated, including the use of sign language and also seats for the wheelchair-bound, so as to cater for the needs of visitors with special needs. Voting begins. Voting is closed. The result is displayed. Voting result 20 for, 30 against, no abstention. I declare that the committee will not deal with the motion. Next one. In accordance with Rule 37A of the FC procedures in relation to the injection of funds from the CIF to Hong Kong ITP to support an expansion and development plan at the Phase 1 site of the Hong Kong Disneyland Resort, I move the following. There will be new areas under the expansion plan, and there will be a need to increase manpower to enhance service level. This committee urges the government to set up a talent scheme with the company so as to come up with a plan to engage ethnic minorities and the disabled in their employment so as to fulfill its corporate social responsibility. Voting begins. Voting is closed. Display the results. 22 for, 30 against. The committee has voted against this motion. Ms. Claudia Mo. As we all know, altruism is closely related to the IVS quantitative easing and also link read. It has nothing to do with our individual tourist attractions. We urge the administration to conduct related research and provide information on the relationship between these items and Hong Kong as a premier tourism attraction or destination. Voting begins. Voting is closed. Displayed result. Voting result 20 for, 31 against, 0 abstention. I declare the motion negative. Please proceed to the next motion. With the fact that the CIF need the financial support of $9 billion from the government's general revenue account, we urge that the administration provide in writing whether injection into the expansion plan of Disneyland would require further capital injection, and that may affect our growth in livelihood spending and also the funding plan for the coming 10 years. Voting begins. Voting is closed. Display the result. 22 for, 30 against, 0 abstention. I declare that the motion is negatived. Next motion, please. This committee urges the administration to tell us where the waste, the C&D waste associated with Buzz Lightyear amusement ride would be disposed of, how the waste would be disposed of, and also the quantity. Voting begins. Voting is closed. Results displayed. 22 for, 31 against, 0 abstention. We're now going to deal with this motion. The last batch of motions, Mr. Liang Yu-chong. In accordance with 37A of our Rules of Procedure, this Council urges the administration to provide information on the accounts analysis of royalty fees paid by the administration to TWCDC for our assessment. Voting begins. Voting is closed. Display the result. Voting result 21 for, 30 against, 0 abstention. The committee will not deal with this motion. Next, in accordance with Rule 37A of our FC procedure, I move that the committee request from the administration the full set of data and also the computation model for royalty fees paid to the TWDC and for information.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Voting is closed. Display the result. Voting result 22 for 30 against, 0 abstention. The committee will not deal with this motion. Next. In accordance with Rule 37A of our procedure, this committee moves that regarding the request by the Disneyland to increase its revolving credit amount from $400 to $2.1 billion. Details be provided to us, and the repayment date and also the details.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins. Voting is closed. Display the result. Voting result 22 for 31 against, 0 abstention. I declare that the committee will not deal with this motion. Mr. Yu Chong. In accordance with Para 37A of the FC procedure, I move that the committee requests the CNDB to prepare a report in relation to Para 10 of the paper, the justifications for maintaining the shareholding of WITP. Voting begins. Voting is closed. Display the result. 22 for 31 against, 0 abstention. I declare that the committee will not deal with this motion. Dr. Edward Yu, the last motion. Please ring the bell. I move that the injection be divided into 6 installments. If the annual growth rate of attendance is less than 3% in the first year of the expansion, then the amount of injection will be reduced in the second and to the 6th installments as below. In the first year, from $12.415 billion to $10.553, and 2019-20 $12.005 to $10.204, 2020 to 21 $9.145 to $7.773, 2021-22 $5.540 to $6.633, 22 to 23 $2.505 to $2.123, and that is the amount be reduced to $4.827 billion. Voting begins. Voting is closed. Displayed result. 22 for 31 against, 0 abstention. I declare that the committee will not deal with this motion. With no further questions, I'll put item FCR 2017-18-1 to the vote. Please ring the division bell for 1 minute. May I remind members that we're voting on whether 5.450 or $5.450 billion be injected from the CIF to the Hong Kong ITP to support an extension and development plan at the Phase 1 site of the Hong Kong Disney Resort.
Voting
begins. Voting is closed. Display the result. 30 for, 24 against, 0 abstention. I declare the motion passed. Next item, FCR 2017-18-2. This item invites members to approve a commitment of $6 billion for Hong Kong's subscription to shares in the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, comprising $1.2 billion for paid-in shares and $4.8 billion for callable shares. The FS&TB consulted the FA panel on the 16th of March 2017 at the request of Mr. Nathan Law and Mr. Eddie Chu. 4 information papers have been issued. Please browse the website of our committee for the information papers. Please invite the administration to join us. Please return to your seats. We're in the middle of a meeting. Mr. Christopher Zhang will report to us the discussion of the relevant panel. Thank you. The FA panel was briefed by the administration on the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank on the 16th of March. Members present did not oppose the funding application from the administration to the FC. At the meeting, members asked about the benefits the proposal would bring us, and also the strategy of our government in ensuring that the AIB set up its branch office in Hong Kong, the governance and operation of AIB. Members are concerned as to how the views and benefits of Hong Kong can be reflected at the board and also council of the AIB. Thank you. Will Mr. Lau, the Undersecretary, be present for this item? Mr. James Lau is not yet here. Members, please press the request to speak button if you have questions to ask. Is Mr. Lau going to attend? Can we get started first? All right, we will break the minute for 5 minutes.